Welcome to Lessons in Leadership. I'm Dave McGhee, and today we're diving into what it really takes to lead a high-performance team in today's real estate market. You know, leadership has always required vision and clarity and courage, but today the stakes are even higher. Leaders are navigating constant change, trying to build culture in a world that feels fragmented, and doing everything they can to develop and retain great people. And in real estate, the pressure's amplified. You're dealing with market volatility and fierce competition for talent. That's why I'm excited about today's guest, Greg Chaplain. Greg is the team leader of the real estate home team at the Real Estate Group, and he's built a strong culture, led through changing markets, and continues to grow a business that thrives on integrity and performance. Today, we'll talk about Greg's leadership philosophy, the biggest challenges he faces as a leader, and the principles that guide his team's success. And hopefully they help you. Greg, good to see you.
Dave, good to see you as well. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, let's get after it. Let's start with the biggest challenge leaders are facing today, especially in the real estate industry. What do you see as the biggest challenges?
Yeah, I think you alluded to this in your introduction that one of the biggest challenges that all leaders are facing in the real estate space in these days is the rules keep changing, right? The market's changing, the economic situation of our country is changing, the industry is going through changes in the last year and a half, with governmental regulations and policy and regulations in building that's constantly changing. So that's really the biggest thing, is just kind of juggling all the changes.
Yeah, and you say it as if it's just a small thing, right? But it is. We know most people are motivated in some sense by stability, and with all of the, any one of the changes you mentioned could lead to disruption. And now we have them all kind of coming into this perfect storm. So the natural tendency for people in destabilizing times is to kind of just try to stay still and stabilize themselves. And what happens is I don't think they face the challenges head on. So with all of the challenges that you've mentioned, from your perspective, what happens to leaders when they don't address those challenges head on?
Yeah, change makes people stop. Right? It actually freezes people. My mom used to call it being baked in a squat, where you're ready, but you're not moving anywhere. You're not going forward. You're not going backward. And we experience this as leaders. We experience this as realtors in the industry when economic changes take place, or even governmental changes take place, policy. Our clients sometimes stop and they pause and they're waiting. Well, we can do the same thing in leadership. So when these things change on us, one of the tendency is, in some cases, to stop, as you mentioned, where I think the bigger crisis takes place is when leaders feel they have to retract, almost approach it with a scarcity mentality as opposed to an abundance mentality.
That's great. And you and I have known each other a long time, and through some changing markets,
Yes,
and you've always had an abundance mentality, and so you've led your teams through growth in challenging times. So what do you think the key difference between teams that grow and teams that stall out in times like these are?
Yeah, boy, that's a great question. If I knew the answer to that, I'd put it in a bottle and we'd all make a lot of money. Because that is organizational growth is what we're all fighting for. It's what we're all trying to get better at. I honestly think the answer to that question starts with the leader itself. It starts with as you mentioned, you and I have known each other for 18 plus years, and you understand my inner workings. In the Buffini world, we call it a profile. We call that our what used to be a heritage profile, now a real strengths profile. And it starts with the leader. It starts with that person understanding themselves, understanding what makes them tick, understanding that every day is, you start with a blank slate, right? And we're going to start today. And I think that that understanding then leads into the leadership piece, where you can guide your team or educate your team, teach and train, develop your team to the path where we want to go. And I don't know if I answered your question very specifically, but it starts, in my opinion, with the leader.
That's great. And honestly, that takes us to right where I want to go next, and that's leadership philosophy. I'm a firm believer that that people tend to be very tactical. And what you really want to do is have your tactics aligned to a strategy. And even bigger than that, you want your strategy to align to a philosophy, kind of a guiding principle, if you will. And so, how would you describe your personal leadership philosophy?
That is a great question. I've been a student, actually, before I even met you, probably 10, 15 years. I was a student of John Maxwell for many years. And I guess if I had to align myself with a particular strategy or particular philosophy, it would be, I don't know if this is a real term or not, by leadership by partnership. I want to partner with my clients in leading them through the process. I want to partner with my agents in developing them into being capable practitioners and doing what they do best. I want to partner with my coaches so that we're like-minded in the direction we're going. I want to partner with the leadership of my brokerage and my industry so that I can support them where they need my support and gain value from them where they can provide value to me. So a quick philosophy is leadership by partnership, where I don't want leadership to be done to me, and I don't want to do it to someone else. I want to do it with someone else.
I love that, and I want to circle back to that in a minute, because I think I think most leaders want to, and I think they struggle with that. But before we get there, was there a defining moment that helped you shape that leadership philosophy, or was it something that you just kind of, that was your mindset all along?
My background is I come out of the corporate side of things. I was in the corporate field for 15, 20 years before I got into real estate. And my job was to build sales teams. And it was one way to build a sales team when they're part of your company and there's kind of a hierarchy of the company. And, my business card's bigger than your business card, so I'm the boss kind of thing. When you get into real estate, I was very fortunate to start my career out on a real estate team. This is in 2005, when that really wasn't a commonality in our industry. It was kind of an abnormality in our industry. But I was able to start my career off on a team, and a very well-run team, one that was extremely successful, great leadership, and I was very fortunate to have that at my fingertips. But when you realize in real estate, I'm leading a volunteer army. It's not, there's no hierarchy, right? We're all independent contractors, and we come together in a team format to gain the what we refer to as the collective IQ on our team, where everybody's a student, everybody's a teacher, and all of us is far more powerful than just one of us, or individually. The sum is outweighs the individual parts. And so that's where I kind of developed that philosophy, was because of the industry itself, because of it's a volunteer army. Leadership has to just take on a little bit of a different flavor. It's still leadership, but it just has to be true leadership, not positional leadership.
I want to talk to you about that transition from, I'm in corporate America where there is a hierarchy, and I'm leading a team, an organization, and not that everything is command and control, but the hierarchy there means that the people you led, they were paid to follow your leadership. And then you transition out of that industry that you're in into real estate, and you start as a member of a team. What did you learn being a member of a team in real estate when you first started?
That's fascinating. What I learned, first of all, I learned my industry. I learned my craft, right? I had the pleasure of sitting next to and along with people who were very successful in the real estate space. So my learning curve was exponential. I just didn't start and go, okay, I'm going to figure this thing out, right? I was very fortunate to be on a successful team where I had examples in the room. And so I just, the secret for me in those early years was just show up. I showed up, and even if I didn't have anything going on with my own clients, I would show up and I would listen to people who were being successful, and I learned. And that was one very key piece of being on a team. That again, we refer to it as the collective IQ. I was able to sit in the room and watch real estate being done around me and learn through exposure.
You know, in talking to a lot of team leaders and brokers, particularly in today's climate, there's a sense of that there's some agent apathy in this marketplace, and that there's definitely a lack of engagement. You know, even though the real estate was kind of, uncaged cats all along, the work from home era of the COVID era kind of even made it less engagement. Not a lot of people going to the offices.
Yeah.
Are you finding that with your team? And if not, how are you keeping your team engaged?
Yeah, we are finding that with our team, and I think this is any organizational leader. I've had conversations with Dermot Buffini on this very topic, and he's looking for ways to bring people back into the office. And I had conversations with him about, geez, after about 2022, when sort of everything was back to normal, but now all the rules had changed, and people got used to working virtual and used to working from home. And it's been very difficult to get folks back in. So I don't know that we'll ever go back to what that looked like, but I think there's other ways to keep people engaged. We were doing Zoom meetings before Zoom was a thing. We were doing virtual meetings before it was a thing. Then it became a thing, and we just carried on with it. But we implemented whatever we needed to implement at the time, and some of the things we started, we've taken away, and we've put a little bit more emphasis on showing up to the meeting. But we still do hybrid meetings, we still do complete virtual meetings, and we do some face-to-face only meetings. So it's kind of integrating a little bit of everything, as opposed to saying, all right, here's the line, you have to show up in the office every day, because that's just not reality these days.
Is there one or two things specifically that you do to create this engagement in a virtual world?
Yeah, I still think it's very important to have one-on-one interaction with, in my case, with the agents on the team. Okay. We do a one-on-one meeting every month, and it's a face-to-face only meeting. Unless someone's, on their very ill or something like that, it's not going to be a virtual meeting. It's going to be a face-to-face meeting. And I think having that face-to-face connection, there's certain things that can be discussed in obviously in the cone of silence, right? Where what's said in that room stays in that room between myself and that individual person. It's about their business. It's about their growth, much like a coaching call is to me. When I was coaching with you, or when I'm coaching with Coach James, what we say to each other, that's a bonding. It's a sacred thing, and you're not out telling your friends what I said, and I'm not out telling my friends what you said, unless it's something I think they can benefit from. But it's that interpersonal connection, that one-on-one FaceTime is still very, very important. And then that gives you a little bit more opportunity to do some things virtually, to do some things hybrid, and still have that connection, because you don't want just everybody being out there without any connection.
That's great. I want to return to this concept of partnership now with your team, because I do believe that for most leaders, that's what they want to try to foster, some sense of we're in this together. The team, the name team even has a connotation of that. And yet I think many leaders struggle with moving to the side of command and control. So, and I think part of it is this feeling of, hey, if I partner with my team and they don't move in the direction I want to go, or they don't do what I say, then I've got to kind of command and control. So what do you think the keys are to developing a partnership in leadership?
Yeah, I like that phrase, command and control, because sometimes it depends on the structure of the team. Okay, there are structures that are more autocratic. There are structures that are less autocratic, more free. Um, I'm probably somewhere in the middle, right? We have systems and processes, and we have certain things we've got to do to be accountable to each other and to be accountable to the team. That includes me, because I'm still in production. So it's not like I get off easy and I don't have to do the tracking, or I don't have to do the client events, or and I'm having them do that. No, I'm involved in everything. So definitely leadership by example. But what I have always tried to implement instead of command and control is more provide and protect. Okay, now it sounds like I'm a cop when I say that, but provide and protect. I'm providing the leadership, the information, the opportunity, the growth opportunity. I'm not doing their growth for them, but I'm providing the mechanisms to which they can implement and grow. And the protection piece is the training and development piece, right? I want the best practitioners on the street that I can have. They want to be that best practitioner, so we're doing everything that we can do to get them in that position, and then they become the example in the brokerage. They're the example. They're held on in some case, put on a pedestal because of the way they've implemented their craft.
Love it. I could talk leadership philosophy with you all day long, but we should probably get into some of the tactical aspects of what you do. Before we do that, are there one or two non-negotiables in your leadership playbook? It could be 3 to 5, but are there any non-negotiables in your leadership playbook, the things that you just try to live out daily as a leader?
I don't know if this is a non-negotiable. I mean, well, it is. My morning routine is sacred. It's if I don't win the morning, I can't win the day. So if I'm on a win the day formula, it's got to start in the morning. So I've got to be regimented, committed to myself, accountable to myself on my morning routine, or quite frankly, the day goes sideways on me. So that's number one. Second thing is my calendar is absolutely sacred. And if there's an appointment on there, even if it's only with myself, meaning this is my personal time, or this is my quiet time, or this is my workout time, or my prayer time, or whatever that looks like for you, even if it's my lead generation time, that never gets canceled. It might get rescheduled, but it never gets canceled. And that's something I've had to commit to myself on. I hate it when somebody says, well, it takes 31 days to create a habit. No, it doesn't. It takes a decision. If you make the decision, it's already a habit. You're going to do it. And if you don't do it, well, you didn't make the decision, right? So it gets back to if you can just that non-negotiable. If you really believe in that there are non-negotiables, and you commit to yourself on those non-negotiables, the decision's made. There's no need for 31 days to make a habit, right? It's already made.
Yeah, that's great. And so I heard a couple things there, because I do think in calendar management, I think a lot of people struggle with that. Hey, I put other people's appointments in my calendar, and then I do my best to hold to those, and there's no time for me. And I might put go to the gym in my calendar, but because my day's so full, when go to the gym comes by, all I want to do is relax, or maybe have a beer, right? But what I heard you say is two things. One, if it's in your calendar, you commit to it. It can be moved, but it can't be removed. And that one of the things that's most sacred is not necessarily appointments with other people, but the appointments you have for yourself.
That's right. That's right. And I wish I could tell you I've been perfect at this for 20 years. I have not. Okay. And I'm not I wouldn't suggest that to the audience to say, oh yeah, he's been perfect at this. No, he hasn't. Not even close. But again, it's I don't have to win 7 days out of 7 to have a good week, right? But my intention is to win every day, but I don't have to win 7, Right.
So I heard a couple things that are non-negotiables for you. The commitment to starting your day right and the commitment to your calendar.
Yes.
And then I also heard that, hey, nobody wins a World Series by winning 162 games in the regular season. You're going to lose a few games and could still win a championship.
That is correct. That
Love
is
it.
correct. Yeah.
Well, let's talk some challenges. What are some of the hardest parts about leading a team for you right now?
Well, yeah, and I think you alluded to this in the opening remarks that there's a lot of pressures on our industry right now. Look, 87% of agents don't make it the first 2 years. Those numbers are real. Okay, those numbers are real. They're based on fact. Now, okay, I'm first of all, I'm not looking to hire average, right? I'm looking to hire above average, but I also want to give somebody every opportunity and provide, as I mentioned earlier, provide them the opportunity to succeed. So the biggest challenge, honestly, is in many times their self-belief, their limiting thoughts. Some people get in the industry that don't want to work. Some people get in the industry that just don't have the faith or belief in themselves to stick it out. And obviously, all of us that are in leadership, whether it's running a brokerage or, in my case, multiple teams, or a team, or even, I'm hiring my first person. We all try to do a real good job in kind of feeling that out before we make a hire. But honestly, the numbers are the numbers, right? So I think some of the things that we're doing to put the advantage with our folks is that providing piece. Is we're providing the platform, we're providing them an accelerated learning curve. I've got an agent that's been with me now for three months. Okay, brand spanking new agent, got a lot of skill, very sharp, got some life experience behind her, and she's going to be great. She's going to be great. She'll take this as far as she wants to take it. But I promised her, I said, look, you'll know after 10 months more than the average agent knows after 3 to 5 years in the industry, just because you're in the room. You're shadowing some of the best practitioners our brokerage and our industry have in our market. You're right alongside them as they're negotiating. So some of the nuanced pieces of real estate, she is picking up because she's along with, as opposed to learning in a classroom setting. And then someday in the future, she has a client that might need that advice, and she's got to remember back to when she was trained on that, where most of us don't. That's the advantage we try to give our folks. And so by doing that, we've had a really good success rate over the last, Real Estate Home Team now has been in existence since 2009. So what's that, 16 years? We've been a team. And our face has changed a couple of times, but our philosophy and our implementation has not.
I want to talk to you about the faces change for a minute, and I want to preface this by saying you had mentioned that in a coaching relationship there's confidentiality. So what I'm about to share, I got your permission.
Yes.
To share. But one of for team leaders particularly, but I think it holds true for brokers. One of the biggest fears is I'm going to pour time and energy and money into an agent, and then they're going to go somewhere else. Well, you had that happen at a pretty extreme level. So do you want to describe what happened, and then
Sure,
we can talk about
happy to share it.
How you overcame it.
Yeah, happy to share it. And it's happened to me twice. So I'll start with this. What you just said, whether you're a broker owner, whether you're a managing broker, whether you're a team leader, is a real, it's a rhetoric that is in our industry. And that is, if I teach them and train them and develop them, they're going to leave me and go be successful somewhere else. That's a philosophical decision that every leader has to make in that position. There are some brokerages out there. Now, every brokerage, when you're being recruited by them, says we train, we teach, we develop, right? I mean, that's, it's like breathing. Oh yeah, we teach it, we train our agents. And I actually learned this from you, that there's a big difference between teaching and training. Teaching is, I'll teach you what paragraph 6 means in the standard purchase agreement so that you don't do something wrong, or oh, you have this issue, let me teach you what to do to smooth it out and get through this particular issue. That's not development, that's teaching, right? And I learned from you that there's teaching and then there's training. Training and development is, what are we doing to develop skills or enhance skills or improve skills in our people so that they're better practitioners. And this is a philosophical decision every leader needs to make. Are we going to be that company that says we do training, but we really do teaching and that's it? Or are we a company that's going to really develop our people, knowing full well that they may leave us and go be successful somewhere else? And I'm happy to say that the brokerage that I work at, as well as me and my team, we've made the commitment to develop our agents, whether they leave us or not. And people have told me I'm crazy, but I'm just here to tell you that for 16 plus years, it's worked pretty well.
I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, Greg.
Okay, so here's the thing. So I originally started a team in 2009. I built that team from about 60 transactions up to about 150. And in 2013, through natural, just this guy had been with me 5 years. It was time for him to move on. Another agent moved across the country. Another agent wasn't going to make the cut. I had to let that person go. And another one decided to rotate off. I was left with one agent, had 6 down to 1. And it was an opportunity. I remember that next week I went to Richmond for what we used to refer to as a turning point retreat. And it was me and an agent that I had hired 6 months ago, and that was the team. From that start, between 2014 and 2018, we grew that to 12 to 14 agents. We were at that point doing over 365 transactions a year and over $120 million, which the average sales price only about $350 in business. And we were, for 5 straight years, we averaged over 365 transactions. And then in 2023, the market shifted. The market moved on us. And even though I had been preaching budgeting, even though I'd been preaching investment, even though I'd been preaching, one-on-one working in this way, the long story short is people's income went down because volume went down a little bit and they felt it. So they started to panic. And I had, in one day, June 3rd, 2023, I had 9 agents resigned. I had 11 agents, including me, and 9 agents resigned and went to a company that really had no costs associated with it, but obviously no value proposition either, right? They didn't have the value proposition I was offering. They had kind of like, well, get your own coffee pot, get your own printer, get your own reams of paper, get your own stamps, where we were offering a full value proposition with staff and training and development and technology and things like that. I'm not saying one's right, one's wrong. I'm just saying they're different.
I want to pause you for a minute because I could hear the collective nation in the audience. The air just left the room for a minute.
Yeah.
The biggest fear for a team leader or a broker is, I'm going to pour into this one agent and they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And you had 9 agents leave on the same day.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind when that happens?
Well, the average agent had been with me over 6.5 years too. So I had some 9, 8 years, and then a couple 2, 3 years. What goes through your mind? This happened on a Friday at 4:45. I went through the 5 stages of grief the first weekend, right? And the first phone call I made on Monday morning was to my coach, James Bell, and I said, I got to talk to you. And he called me back, and we had about a 30-minute phone call. And it was devastating at the time. It hurt. I felt betrayed. I felt, geez, I poured all this into these folks, and this is the thanks I get. One of them, I had basically paid their mortgage 3 weeks earlier because they were suffering a little bit financially. And So, but all that was forgotten, and they escaped under the cover of darkness, and went over to another brokerage. They didn't leave as a team; they left as independent agents, and some have survived and some have not. I knew they were well trained because I trained them. So once I got through the kind of the shock and awe of it after about a week and a half, I kind of dusted myself off. So like, okay. I remember telling Coach James on that Monday morning call, at the end of the call, after telling him everything that had happened, and he kind of, poured into me a little bit. I said, well, James, I've built it before. I can build it again. And he was like, you're right, you can. And so I went to work, and I was very fortunate in the first couple of weeks. I found a couple of agents that wanted to come on board. Two of them that were referred to me. One had heard their mom was an agent with our brokerage and had heard what had happened, called her daughter and said, you need to call Greg right now, see if you can get on his team. And that it was just kind of like, got some referrals. I called everybody. I started networking, right? I started lead generating, Dave, novel concept. I started lead generating, but I was looking for agents, not for buyers and sellers. And I called everybody I knew in the industry, lenders, title companies, owners of title companies, HVAC contractors. I'm like, who do you know that, you know me well enough? Who do you know that I should be talking to? And I did a bunch of interviewing, and we found a couple people right off the bat. And then I kind of hit a dry spell. And then right before the end of the year, I found another couple folks. And it was at that point, I was kind of like, okay, we're back. We're back. Now, we hadn't gained all that volume back. Okay. We weren't back there. We were back here. We were back in our minds, in our heads. We knew that the team was cohesive. We knew that we cared for each other. We had enough one-on-ones where I knew what was going on in their business and they knew what I was all about, and we were starting to really gel. And so when 85% of your volume walks out the door in one day, yeah, that hurts, right? I remember Coach James says, yeah, you just went from a rocket ship to a sailboat. And that's kind of what it felt like. But as the rest of 23 ended, and as 24 started to come into play, we started growing back up again. And we're probably back to I think I'm at 7 agents, and we're probably back to about 70% volume wise. Now the market's different now than it was in 2022, right? Sure. I mean, volume's different. I mean, look at Dr. Yoon's numbers. What sold, how many houses sold in 22 versus how many sold in 24? Vastly different. So yeah, we've had to ride with the market a little bit, but we're back. When I say we're back, it's not the volume, it's the mindset and the team unity and the culture that we have together. That's what's back.
Yeah, and to be back where you are, I mean, in volume is a testament to your leadership too. So let me ask you this, a couple questions about that, and then we'll get on to a more positive story. But obviously that's a blow. So what do you do to reset when you feel that pressure as a leader? How do you maintain your routines, your mindsets, and the questions that you ask yourself to keep yourself focused?
That's a great question, and probably the most important part of this whole conversation. And that is, immediately I leaned into the people that knew me the best. And that means my coaches, my mentors, my family, and other associates, acquaintances that I know, friends that I know around the country, many of which are in the Buffini network, some outside of that, but people in my community that my colleagues around the country that knew me the best were the ones that really ministered to me the most. And that kind of how I'm wired too, is words of affirmation is my love language, right? So when someone else says, Greg, you can do it, that's the precision moment for me, where I know, okay, I can get behind, I can get moving in this direction. So that was critically important to me. Was diving. I remember calling you, Dave, and right after calling Coach James, and you gave me an impromptu coaching call, and poured into me based on the fact that you knew me very well. You know me very well, And those things right there was what got me through, because the imposter syndrome is real. The little voice in the dark of night that's whispering in your ears, you're not good enough. You probably weren't the leader you thought you were. Your value proposition really isn't that valuable. Obviously, if those people left you for no value proposition for an extra couple percent or something like that, obviously your value proposition isn't all that great. And those little whispers come in late at night. But it was the people that know me the best, my brothers in arms, my board of trustees, my coaches, my mentors. Those were the people that spoke truth to me. They weren't talking death to me. They were talking life. They were talking the truth. And the more I heard that, the more my confidence came back. And yeah, I mean, the other piece is this, Dave, that if I had identified myself as that mega team leader, that oh, we sell a house a day person, and that'll never change. If I'd have identified with that, that could have really made me stumble a lot longer than I stumbled. We came back fairly quickly, and I think a lot of that is the emotional intelligence of that I've learned through the Buffini Company Network, through coaching, through mentorship. That my identity wasn't in being the team leader of a team. It was. I mean, I know who I am and I know whose I am, right? And that's to me the most important thing, is I had that grounding, and then I had people around me that were willing to speak life to me, and that's what got me through.
I think there are two critical points you made there. One, leadership is lonely, right? It can be. And it's very important to have a community of leaders that you engage with on a regular basis. And then the other part, I think, is good advice for anybody, whether you're a leader or not, and that is, don't find your identity in the job. Right. You said, hey, I didn't want my identity to be somebody that was selling a house a day. You guys were selling a house a day.
We were selling a house a day, even nights and weekends and holidays. Yes.
Yeah. But that wasn't your identity, right? Your identity was of service. And so I love that.
My identity was in the success of my agents. My identity was in the fact that I knew I could create top 1% practitioners. And I still do that.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that, because 85% of your team walks out the door, and then you go on heavy recruiting mode. But while you were calling the people, hey, who do you know? While you were interviewing agents, you weren't just looking to fill the seats. You were looking for quality agents. So how did you keep focused on, this is the type of agent that gets to work in my company, when you had to fill 9 seats?
When I had 9 seats to fill, yeah. I had to hold true to my process. I've got a process in hiring. The only bad hires I've ever made is when I've shortcut my process. But if I hold true to my process, I'm not saying I never make a mistake. I'm not saying that. But my numbers are really good, right? My numbers are really good if I go through my process. And it's a 3-step interview process. So everybody's going to be a little bit different, but I do a getting to know you meeting, and then the second time we get together, I'll talk about our value proposition. This is what I bring to the table, and this is the success rate we've had. But even before there was a success rate, it's like, this is what I bring to the table. This is my value proposition. And then the third time, and we don't talk money, splits, commission, nothing. We just talk about the value. The next time I get with them, if they like what they hear, then we talk about the compensation model. And if I hold to that process, I've got real good track record of bringing on the right person, or at least someone for a couple of years. I've brought some people on that said they wanted to do real estate. They got real busy in real estate, and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore, right? I'm going to go back to doing what I used to do. Okay, fine. This isn't for everybody, but we held true to the promise that we made. That was, I got you from 0 to doing 24, 25 transactions a year. The fact that when you got there, you didn't like it, that wasn't on me.
Sure. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about process and really in the lens of culture, focus, and growth. I know one of the things that that is part of your process, keeps your team focused and helps you grow to a place where you're selling a house a day, is the way you set goals and meet with your agents. Do you want to talk about that process a little bit?
Sure, sure. And so there's a lot of great processes out there. What I used to do when I was in the corporate world, I stole it and I brought it with me into the real estate world. So when I was a solopreneur, when it was just me on a team, I would manage myself this way. And then when I created a team in 2009, I started managing the team this way. And that is what I refer to it as a rolling 90-day snapshot. So if today is April 15th, which it's not, but if today's April 15th, if you and I were meeting, Dave, and you were the agent and I'm the team leader, I would talk to you about what did March look like? What went right? What went wrong? You know, how were your numbers? You know, how's the money situation? You okay? You know, what was, you know, how did we finish up the month of March? And then we're also going to look at the current 30 days. So that would be the month of April. Where are you based on the plan you gave me in March? How you doing on your lead generation? How you doing on your the tactics piece that that we've set as your goal for April? Are you only at 10%? Well, you got to get hot for the next 15 days. Are you at 85%? Great. Don't take your foot off the gas. Keep going. So I'm kind of doing a halftime speech with my agents, right? Kind of a Lou Holtz moment here. You know, I'm doing my little halftime speech. We've got the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. We're right in the middle, and we're gonna. It gives us an opportunity to course correct. It gives me an opportunity to encourage and to really give kudos to the work that they've been doing. And then the next thing you're going to give me is your pre-plan for the month of May. You're going to give me your lead generation and activities pre-plan for May so that I know and you know what your goal is for the month of May on the things that you can control. Not how many transactions do you want, not how much commission dollars do you want to make. You can't necessarily control all that. But what you can control are the productive activities that it's going to take to do next month so that 90 days from now, you've got, you know, commission checks coming in and compensation coming in. So that's what we look at, is a rolling 90 days. So when we meet in May, we're looking at April, May, June. When we meet in June, we're going to look at May, June, July. And so it's you know, it's a 90-day snapshot, but we're at halftime. And it gives us a chance to just keep moving that 90 days down the line. And in the month of August and September, we do strategic planning for the next calendar year so that October 1, you go to work on your next calendar year's plan so that in January, there's things coming in. So this was something that we developed over a period of time. Like I said, I stole this from the consumer packaged good industry that I was in for 13 years, and I moved that into real estate.
So, and is that meeting once a month with each team member then? You're rolling
Yes.
90-day meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
roughly the middle of the month, somewhere between the 10th and the 20th. So we're constantly sort of in the middle of the month, and we just keep moving that along.
So rolling 90-day meeting once a month, typically in the middle of the month. And you're focused not necessarily on the target, but the activities. What are the tactics that you're doing?
Yeah.
Have you hit your tactical goal? And what is your tactical goal for the next month? And then strategic planning toward the end of the summer so that you're lead generating for the next year come October.
That's correct. That's correct. Yep.
Love it. So, you know, I think people can get the sense that you have a pretty good culture. And what are some of the things that, and we talked a little bit about this at the beginning, but what are some of the things that you do to keep your team motivated and performing?
Well, I've had to learn this over the years, but we got to celebrate the successes first of all. You know, we've got to send out the attaboys when they're due. You know, and I had one of the opportunities we've had to do this is I hope it's okay for me to say this, but the Buffini and Company coaching platform, the leadership coaching, which is at team level. So not only am I one-to-one coach, but my team meets with my coach once a month. And that opportunity right there to give shout outs to each other, to talk about the wins with each other, has really taken. We kind of used to do that in our team meetings, but sort of halfway. Our coaching calls have become absolutely that opportunity for us to call out excellent work and to call out what I like to try to do is, because I'm the one that's doing strategic planning. So when I see an agent hit one of the goals that they had set for the calendar year, I want to make a big deal out of that. And we just had a call not long ago. It was, I don't know, February or April, March or April, that one of our agents last year, her goal was to, not only make enough money to put her kids in private school, which she made enough money to pay for 2 years of private school education. So she's already ahead of the curve, but she also wanted to take her family on a vacation. They had not had a family vacation in, I think, 5 years. And they just got back from Hawaii and took the kids, went out, had a ball. And their kids are young. I mean, they're, grade school. And I wanted to make such a big deal about that because it was a goal that she set. We reviewed it every time we met on our one-on-ones. It was always like, okay, these still the 4 things you want to accomplish this year? Yeah, they are. And we put dollar amounts with each one of them, so we knew what had to be generated to get these things. And when I see someone like that actually deliver for their family, that to me is a big deal.
Yeah, I love it. And you're celebrating the purpose behind the goal, not just the accomplishment of the goal.
That is correct. Yeah. The effort that went behind it, the tactics that built the business that paid for the goal.
Love it. Well, these are distracting times right now, and the market's volatile. I don't know if you can hear it. I live in New York City. The fire department is racing by my place right now. But the market is volatile. It seems like there's just a lot of distraction. So how do you maintain a strong culture in a tough market when people are distracted?
You continue to reinforce the basics of why we're together. Number one. So we don't, the rest of that stuff in many cases. Now, look, there are real issues out there. There are real problems. There are real opportunities. But people still want to live indoors. Okay. So at the end of the day, no matter what happens to the rate, no matter what happens to the tariffs, no matter what happens to the economy, no matter what happens, moms and dads want to raise their kids indoors, not in a tent somewhere. So we're in housing, right? So let's not lose our minds here. Our consumer, oh yeah, we're selling less houses than we did 3 years ago. Okay, right. I think this year in my market, 19,000 homes will sell. Well, I don't need all 19,000 to have a good year. Okay. But so I'm going to continue to work on me, first of all, because I can't give to them until I first worked on me. So I'm going to work on me, number one. I'm going to give it away. I'm going to train and develop my folks, even though they might leave me, Dave, like we've experienced. Even though they may leave me, I'm still going to do what's right by them to put them in the best possible position to execute those tactics, grow that business, and pay for that trip to Hawaii. And so that doesn't change no matter what's going on around me. The second thing is to also, like the trip to Hawaii, is to understand what each agent's doing. Why are they doing this? Because there's a lot of things they can do to make money, right? There's a lot of things they can do to, they could go get a job somewhere and just do open houses on the weekend if they like seeing houses. I mean, they don't have to be in real estate to do that. So, but it's taking the time to get into those things with them and understand that, okay, there's certain things we have to take care of. I mean, let's face it, we're in business together as a team. We're going to talk about business. But then there's, in business, money is a byproduct of serving people in business. So kind of business and money, that's always going to be two of our conversations. But it's understanding the nuance of what they want for their families, whether it's private school tuition, whether it's a trip to Hawaii, whether it's to buy my first rental property and start to build a portfolio of wealth It's to whether I want, whatever that thing is, it's to not lose the importance of what that's all about, and just continue to understand that that is someone's dream, right? And so that, combined with the fact that we don't want to take our eye off the ball of, we're in housing, we're going to do that, we're going to take care of ourselves, we're going to take care of each other, and therefore we'll ultimately take care of our clients. Those two things is what keeps us on the straight and narrow when the world is getting nuts so crazy.
Yeah, I'm hearing purpose all over everything you're talking about. We're in a purpose-driven industry to help people have a piece of the American dream. And
Yeah.
as a team leader, you're helping your agents to fulfill their purpose and their goals and their motivation too. And if you can stay focused on what really matters, then you get to stay focused on what really matters.
That is true.
If a new leader came to you and said, Greg, what's the key to great leadership? What would you tell
The key to great leadership is, number one, not trying to do it all yourself. Is to have that core group of people, or that one person or two people that you can lean into. You have to work on yourself. You have to be a student of personal development and growth, in my opinion, or you'll try to find a bridge to jump off of. I mean, it's just because as you said, leadership is lonely. Leadership can be detrimental in some cases. I mean, we're dealing with huge financial decisions that people are making, and running the team is a huge financial decision. And I've got other people that are, their welfare is based on the fact that my team is successful because they're a part of it, and the brokerage would feel the same way. So there's that commitment, but there's understanding that, there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire, right? There's always someone that was an influence, whether it's a teacher. I mean, many of us know a teacher that really made a difference in our life. I know the one that made the difference in my life. He taught me what excellence. No, he taught me what the pursuit of excellence looked like. And I've never forgotten that. And I've taken those lessons and I've implemented that into my corporate life. And then I implemented that into my real estate life. What does the pursuit of excellence look like where I am right now? And that was something I learned from him. So boy, leadership. I think that's my biggest key is don't feel like you've got to do it all yourself. You've got to have the mentors, the coaching, the people that can pour into you.
Well, so you teed me up, Greg, because I've known you for 18 years. You've been in coaching at Buffini and Company for at least 18 years, and I think a little bit longer than that. Some people would say you're a slow learner.
Yeah.
What keeps you in coaching for 18 years?
The thought, the realization that I don't know it all, and the realization that look, on our team, that young lady that I mentioned that's been with me 3 months, there's things I'm learning from her. Okay, I've been doing this 20 plus years. She's been doing this for, what time is it? Not long, but there's things I can learn from her, and that I am learning from her. So realizing that I don't know it all, realizing that I do need that sounding board. I do need someone to bounce ideas off of and say, well, this is what I'm thinking. Is that right thinking, Dave? Does that sound like, what am I not seeing? Because I've got the blinders on, because I'm in this every day. What does this sound like right thinking to you? And yeah, that's one of the reasons that I stay in coaching is that. Plus, I'm continuing to evolve as a leader. So the leader I am today is not the leader I was in 2023 when 9 of my 11 agents resigned. It's not the leader I was in 2014 when I had a team of 6 and we went down to a team of 2. It's also not the leader that I was in 2021 or whatever year it was, where we did over 400 something transactions and broke the bank, and the it was an incredible year. I'm a different leader now, and so continuing to evolve. There's nothing static in nature, right? The tomato is either ripening or it's rotting. There's no status quo. So our brains work a lot the same way. The brain is either growing or it's declining, and there is no status quo in nature. So by realizing that and realizing that, man, I'm always constantly evolving and changing. How could I possibly do that without a coach? How could I possibly do that without mentorship, without guidance? I'm not that smart. I can't figure that out by myself.
Well, I think you're a pretty smart guy, Greg. Hey, one more question before we let you go, and that is, what one belief or mindset shift have you made as a leader that you think's had the biggest impact on your success?
Realizing, well, I'm a pretty good practitioner. There's others out there that are better than me, right? And understanding that and being and not being intimidated by that, right? I mean, as a leader, I'm still a producer too. So I'm competitive, and I want to be the leader by example, and I am the leader by example. But there's others out there that are better at it than I am, and I've got several of them on my team right now. They don't quite know it yet, but I'm looking at them going, wow, where I was when I was where you are years in the business. I mean, you guys are light years ahead of me. So I think that is a paradigm shift that is, I don't have to be the everything to everybody. That I referred to it earlier as the collective IQ. On my team, everybody is a student and everybody is a teacher. And okay, I'm the team leader. Yes, okay, fine. If there was a decision that has to be made for the team, yeah, I'm probably going to ultimately make it. But everybody is a teacher and everybody is a student. So some people refer to that as being a humble leader. I don't mean humility like scarcity mindset, because we're a very abundance mindset group. We want to shoot for the stars. We're very competitive, and I think that's what the paradigm shift would be, that I don't have to be everything to everybody.
Greg Chaplain, thanks so much for sharing your insights today. Your transparency, your clarity, your conviction really stood out to me. And it's clear that great leadership isn't about having all the answers, but showing up with integrity, focus, and a commitment to grow. So I appreciate you sharing yourself and your leadership with everybody today.
My pleasure, David. Thank you for having me.
And to everyone tuning in, if you took one thing from today's conversation, I hope it's somewhere like this, that leadership is less about control and more about clarity. That when you know who you are and what you stand for and where you're going, your team will follow. Thanks for watching Lessons in Leadership. I'm Dave McGhee. Keep leading with purpose.